Okay. Like I saw the also order of the Travis County Facilities Corporation meeting. The time is 10:29 a.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
President Jimmy Paver,
Present.
Vice President Cheryl Brown,
Present.
Director Wilmer Roberts, Director Jan Wenig.
We have a quorum.
Okay, on to item number 2, public forum citizen communication. Is there anyone here who would like to discuss or comment on the item directly related to the TCFC?
No one signed in.
Okay. No.
Okay, moving on to item number 3, the consent agenda. Can I just do A through D?
Yes, you can do it. All right.
Can I get a motion to approve the amendments A through D on the consent agenda?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes. On to item number 4, resolution number TCFC 2023-07 to authorize the Frontier Valley Apartments transaction, including the execution of all documents necessary to carry out the transaction. Authorizing the purchase of the land for the transaction of the lease of such land for the transaction, and to authorize the Travis County Facilities Corporation to serve as the general contractor and other matters in connection therewith.
Okay, as you all know, you took the first step with Frontier Valley already, and this is obviously the final approval. I do have Mr. Plum on the line if you would like to really summarize some of the details, or we can put up the summary. But he is here.
I think that'd be helpful. Last time we spoke, got some information on the value of.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear all that? Did you hear all that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So Frontier Valley, ooh, I seem to have an echo.
This is loud, I think.
Okay, Frontier Valley is an Austin Affordability Unlocked project that we've been working on for quite a while. It's 101 units, so it's a small project. Their income restrictions consist of 16 units at 80%, 7 units at 70%, 1 unit at 60%, 21 units at 50%, and 6 units at 30%. They are, as a general rule, complying with all of our standard terms and conditions. We have done something new in that we have hired Hilltop Securities to assist us in the analysis of these deals and to look at some of the tax effect of these deals. Right now, this project is vacant land, currently pays about $3,500 in taxes. If you look at a 15-year period, the Public Facility Corporation is estimated to receive $1,941,000 of revenue. The rent reductions on this project over a 15-year period would be $3,432,000. So you receive approximately $5,374,000 of community benefit from this project. The taxes over a 15-year period, taking the property as if it was taxable, the fully built out property, would be $6,833,000. Comparing those two, you capture 78% of the tax exemption back in the form of either revenue or reduced rents from this project. So this is the kind of project we'd really like to continue doing. And you know, I'm more than willing to provide additional details or answer any questions if you have to.
So all this was over, I'm sorry, all this was over a 15-year period. The exemption savings to the developer is 6 million. But the exemption's in perpetuity, right?
The total exemption savings is 6 million in the first 15 years. But we recapture 1.9 million of that in revenues and 3.4 million in rent reduction value.
In 15 years.
Yes, sir. We don't go out beyond 15 years because it really, quite frankly, gets to be kind of guesswork.
Right. I understand.
I have a quick question. For Hilltop Securities, we retained to help with this process. Are they preparing a scorecard? Is that how they assist? And making sure you're checking all the boxes, or how does that work?
They went through and did a financial analysis of the project and compared the taxes for us and determined the rent reduction over the 15 years, and then net present valued all of that back. And they are a financial advisor that we've worked with. They're probably the kind of the largest financial advisor in the housing area. And we had understood that you wanted to look at a comparison of the taxes that would have happened on the project if it was taxable versus the amount of community benefit. And they run that calculation all the time for us and Dallas Public Facility Corporation, the Houston Housing Finance Corporation, and numerous other clients. And so we asked for their assistance to run these numbers for this project, each one of these projects, to try and answer that question, which I'd understood you had asked previously.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So one that I have is why just one unit at 60%? It seems like there's an imbalance where you have 16 at 8%, 70 at 7%, and then if I heard you right, 1 at 6.
Yes, ma'am. That is just how they made up the unit mix in order to get the Austin Affordability Unlocked program. That program requires that everything average out to a 60%. And so that's how this developer chose to divide it up.
So would it benefit us though if that number of units increase? You know, I mean, it just.
Well, so when you say benefit us, I mean, obviously, the more greater affordability, the better in our opinion.
Right.
Affordability Unlocked, which is associated with funding from the city of Austin, which they're not tapping into, by the way, is a standard we've been trying to sort of reflect, you know what I mean, or like replicate to some degree, even without the additional funding that they would get from the city of Austin. So this is pretty good. I mean, relative to what we're talking about, even without the security of the funding that they would potentially get if they got affordability unlocked. But I mean,
can we bump the number up to 3 or 4 versus just 1?
well, yeah, they do it right, but I mean, that would be something. I mean, we could have tried to negotiate that, but I mean, what he's saying is that you have a percentage. You have a percentage, and you need properties at every. You need units at every level. So
Correct.
there's quite a number. I mean, every taxpayer project's at 60% AMI. Every 4% tax credit project's at 60 for the most part, unless they do income averaging, which not many people do. So the 60% isn't the unit. The unit isn't the unit that's most desirable in terms of units because there is not really a shortage of 60% units per se. So I mean, in the future, if we want to suggest lower, then that's going to maybe make an adjustment of other units that may be higher because of that. So I mean, it's the way you would approach
Yeah,
it.
I wasn't questioning the percentage. I was just questioning the number of units at that percent. That's
Right.
what I-
And what they chose to do was to provide 20% of the units at 50, and then 5% of the units at 30. And this form of financing cannot normally reach those low levels. And so they could only provide really one unit at 60. And because they were reaching deeper affordability.
Just to speak to that point, there is an abundance of literature in this area about, what housing authorities should aspire to and so forth. And while I appreciate the 78% capture, there is examples of 99% capture, which is what I think my colleague was referencing, just upping that deep affordability. So just to reference
that does not occur in the state of Texas. The norm in the state of Texas for a public facility corporation deal is about 40% capture rate.
I'm talking about aspirationally. But thank you. Yeah, I'm looking at. Thank you for the.
Any further questions? You wait for one. Okay. Okay, motion to approve resolution TCFC 2023-07.
I move that we approve resolution number TCF 2023-07. I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay. Section 4, item B, resolution number TCFC 2023-08, confirm and ratify the appointment of Patrick D. Howard as secretary and other matters in connection therewith.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Jim explain this as well, but this is just something required in statute.
This is purely administrative. Patrick's been the secretary of this entity forever. But I didn't have an actual resolution that I could hand a bank and say, here's proof. So this is literally nothing but a resolution confirming that he is in fact the secretary of this entity.
Okay, motion to approve resolution number TCFC 2023-08.
I move that we approve resolution number TCFC 2023-11.
Okay.
I'm reading.
All those in favor?
Aye. I'm sorry.
Motion is approved. Okay, section 4, item C, to induce the Burleson Apartments in partnership with Cambrian Development LLC to be located at approximately 7800 Burleson Road, and authorizing the negotiation and execution of a term sheet and other matters in connection therewith.
We're gonna pull up the details. We do have, so Jim will do a summary. We do have the development partner online. I think they do want to share. Or do you all want to go through your presentation first? Is it, who's on the line? Is it Bethany or Maddie? Or...
Hi, Patrick, it's Bethany. Please go ahead and present.
Okay,
I thought that you were presenting.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Go ahead, Jim.
All right. Burleson is a 315 unit project. It is out by the airport. It is a typical PFC structure. It is our lease structure. The only difference is that they have requested that after 10 years, they have the right to buy out the project, put it back on the rolls, pay taxes, and pay you a 7% fee. Now, we have previously approved a deal with. I'm sorry?
No, nothing said. Continue.
Okay, we've previously approved a deal with Cambrian that had that provision. But I wanted to make sure that you're okay with having a 10-year affordability period. Because theoretically, after 10 years, they can put the property on the rolls, eliminate the affordability, and pay you a fee of 7%. They are proposing a rent equal to 25% of the annual taxes. They are proposing our typical structuring fee. They are proposing our typical sales commissions, typical sales tax savings fee, share of developer fee. This project, though, is a 50% at 80% workforce project. Does not have any units below 80%, and the balance would be market rate. We ran the tax analysis of this project, and this project would provide you $5,474,000 of rent over a 15-year period. It would provide $7,240,000 of rent reduction. And they have committed that the 80% units will always be $200 per month less than the market rate units. That provides a $12,714,000 community benefit. The taxes over a 15-year period would be $24 million. So we would capture 51% of the taxes back in community benefit. And I think that Patrick provided you the little chart that I put together that has a comparison from typical terms to the proposed terms. That has the estimates of income in it, but if you'd like me to, I can run through an estimate of those incomes.
Would you like to see that?
Yeah.
Sure, Jim, go ahead.
Okay, so your annual rent from this project, beginning when the project stabilizes, would be $340 a year. You'd receive a $250,000 closing fee. You would receive a sales tax savings fee of approximately $472,000, paid 1/2 at closing and 1/2 at construction completion. You would receive a developer fee equal to 15% of their developer fee, but not less than $500,000. And then when the project sells, which is currently estimated to be between year 5 and 10, you would receive approximately $7 million in sale proceeds from that sale. And then every other time the project sold, you would receive 2% of the gross sales price. So in a typical project like this, on a second sale, it's worth probably $100 million. So you would be paid $2 million from that sale. So all combined, it's estimated that on a net present value basis, that would be approximately $5.5 million.
The questions, concerns? Okay, motion to approve resolution number TCFC 2023-09.
The motion there for.
It's like, I'm gonna do a good job. All those in favor? I thought I got a second. Okay. Motion to approve TCFC 2023-09.
Yeah, the chair. you
Oh,
take-
check up the motion. Okay,
So.
I'll
Robin
make a
will make the motion.
all those in favor?
Alright.
Okay, motion approved.
Motion to amend.
One name. Okay. Section 4. Number D, letter D, resolution number TCFC 2023-10 to induce the Blue Ridge Apartments in partnership with Ellington Capital Group to be located off TX 130 on Wild Horse Ranch Trail in Austin, Texas, and authorizing the negotiation and execution of a term sheet and other matters in connection therewith.
Okay, so why don't we go to the standard term sheet, Jim, and get just right off the bat. But we can do it, the developer is here, I think he wants to share a little bit, so we'll let him share the details about the unit mix. So why don't we just go to the terms and then allow for the development partner to speak on.
Okay, this is 375 units. It is a standard lease structure with a 75-year lease. This project is proposing $160,000 of rent a year. That equals 10.5% of the tax amount. Your normal rent at 25% would be about $380,000. And I'll let the developer explain the reason for the rent. They have agreed that because they recognize that their rent is not our norm, that they would pay you a $600,000 closing fee to help offset the fact that they cannot afford to pay our typical rent. They have agreed to a 15% return. When they sell, that's estimated to be $3,700,000. They, instead of our norm $15,000 per door in sales tax savings, they've agreed to 25% of sales tax savings, and that's about $500,000. They are paying 15% of their developer fee over to you. That's $450,000. We have struggled with the affordability set-asides. And what the developer has agreed to is 35% at 80%, 10% at 70%, and 5% at 60%. All the other typical terms and provisions are the same. We had Hilltop run the tax calculation. Your estimated present value rent over 15 years is $4 million. The rent reduction is $8 million for a public benefit of $12 million. The taxes over that time period would be about $30 million. So you are capturing 40% of the taxes, which is frankly about the standard in the industry. And I think probably the best thing for me to do is to let the developer explain. You do need to know that we have been working on this project for over a year, trying to get the numbers to work. And we have been through their numbers and understand them and aren't questioning the developer's numbers or their need for the return that they're getting. I think from my perspective, I felt like this is probably pretty close to the best deal this developer can do. And so we decided to bring it to the board and allow you to hear the presentations and decide if it was acceptable.
This is Mark McCordy with Ellington. Thank you, Mark. So if you maybe, you could either stand or go to the, maybe set at the front table.
Great, yeah, sorry, I wasn't aware of the technology of the format, so I just printed off a presentation.
So we have one.
I know it feels like a lot, but we'll turn pages quickly and I'll talk quickly and then I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. But I do think, it's important to kind of share a little bit of background about our firm and this project in particular, because it's been a long one. It's been our pipeline for almost 2 years with the housing authority, so it feels like another kid in a lot of regards. So I'm gonna bounce through this presentation pretty quickly. Like I said, we'll happy to answer any questions. So the first couple of pages are just an overview of Elmington. We are a firm entirely based around the mission to deliver affordable housing. We're headquartered in Nashville, but our 3 primary markets, Austin, Nashville, and Charlotte, North Carolina. We developed about 8,000 affordable housing units since the creation of Elmington. And we also have affiliate businesses of construction and property management, so it's an in-house operation. Flipping pages. We also have another affiliate organization called Elmington Elevates. It's a 501c3 that is involved with all of our properties, and the mission of this 501c3 is to empower our residents and really to give back to the communities in which we own. The name Elmington may be familiar to some of you all. We are an existing development partner with the Housing Authority. Really proud about the work and impact we've created together. We've got 4 projects. I've listed those below. They're all in East Austin. And Wild Horse Flats, 310 units that actually just delivered first units in the first quarter of this year. Should be wrapping up construction in the next 6 months. Super proud of that one. Would be honored to give anyone a tour at the Housing Authority. I'm really proud of the work we've done there. Jaeger Flats, another 300 unit low income development by the Samsung facility on Farmer. Jackson Flats, knock on wood, should be breaking ground in about 6 months. And then Blue Ridge, which is the project we're here to discuss today. So in total, our partnership together, we would have created about 1,200 units. And I'd really like to highlight kind of the affordability and impact we've created across that portfolio. Over 70% of the units are at 60% AMI or less, which is obviously a really hard project to deliver. So I'll move quick here. We're short on time. So the next couple of pages is just to highlight the area. So just southeast of the 130-290 intersection. That's obviously an area of town that's really growing rapidly. It's in a master page 6 just shows kind of all the activity in the area. They look a little green on Google Maps today, but it seems like every piece of vacant land is slated for future development. And it's a number of uses: single family, commercial, industrial, retail, civic. So it's a really exciting part of town. For the next page, 7, probably one of my favorite attributes about this project, and what I think it separates itself from all other, not all, but many other TFC deals. This is part of a master plan community, and it's called Wild Horse Ranch. It's almost 1,500 acres. It's going to have 1,800 plus single family homes, over 1,000 multifamily units, 500 acres of parkland, 85 acres of office, retail, commercial. And then my personal favorite attribute is Maynard ISD actually broke ground on a new elementary school within walking distance in Blue Ridge. So it's a unique opportunity to build an affordable housing community, mixed income housing community in a mixed use, mixed income, walkable, inclusive, well thought out master plan community. And transportation will also be improving in this area. Project Connect, which I'll touch on in a moment in more detail. They have improved transportation options that will be servicing this area. So the 8th page here is just an executive summary of just really a snapshot of the program. And
I didn't get that.
Sorry, excuse me. I just got this watched a couple days ago. It's driving me crazy. So as Mr. Plummer mentioned, this has been a long time in the works. Wild Horse Flats, which was the first development we ever did together, was the first multifamily development in the master plan community. So that was kind of our foothold out in that area. And we found that property in 2018, 2019, broke ground in January 2021, and really immediately turned our attention to the Blue Ridge parcel in the spring of 2021. So it's 2 years. And that long timeline is just 100% driven by permitting. And we believe we're on the downhill slope here. It should be breaking ground in about 150 days. So actually, June of 2022, we received a resolution to move forward with a PFC development with the house, a PFC agreement with the Housing Authority. And at that time, I understand it predated some of the new policies that you all established in later 2022. And for a couple examples, all the units were at 80% AMI, half the units were at 80% AMI, and the other half were restricted, kind of more of the traditional PFC model. There was no term established, no termination fee established. And, when Patrick and Jim got more involved in the later half of the year and established the board policies, they were really pushing us to, meet the current parameters. And, we've done our best to agree to that. We agreed to the term, the termination fees, and, it's, and they did our best. And one issue that we came across was just, we've been, fundraising for 6 to 9 months on this project. We had a equity investor secured. And then at the beginning of this year, they walked away from the table. Just they hadn't done a PFC deal before. They were uncomfortable with the program. And then couple that with just the headwinds in the capital markets. It was just an unfortunate situation. So we, kind of re-engaged all the other interested parties. We're working with an institutional equity brokers. We've got a lot of attention on this project, and it just gotten feedback. That this deal just could use, honestly, just could use some help to get capitalized. And what we're presenting today is, a modification of the agreement that we established in June of 2022, and we've tried to incorporate more affordability here by inserting 70% units and 60% units. And the ask from the Housing Authority is if we can get some consideration on the rent payment, which is what Mr. Plummer outlined. So that's a little bit more background on the unit mix and how we ended up at the unit mix discussed today. Last 2 pages, and I promise I'll stop talking. So just a couple other tidbits on this site that we're excited about. Elmington has a programmatic relationship with Big Austin, a Austin Bay 501c3 led by Stacey Rowan, an incredibly impressive person. And it's just been a relationship we've been establishing over the last several years, and we realize kind of what they do best, which is workforce empowerment, entrepreneurship training, micro lending, kind of just a number of different programs to improve the lives of the workforce population. That really overlaps directly with the populations that we serve. So we're still working out the details of that, but the spirit of the partnership with them is, to make sure we're sharing resources, providing, collaborating as much as possible, and making sure, our residents have access and are aware of all the empowerment programs that Big Austin is available at. And then the last page in the presentation is just a clip of Project Connect's Green Line. So the Green Line actually had to stop in the master plan community of Wild Horse. And, if or when that reaches this area, obviously that will be extremely transformative. And I think it's critical now that we plant the affordable flag, plant the Housing Authority flag in these areas, because when these public transportation improve in these areas, and all of a sudden the land is too expensive, and then all of a sudden then there's no affordable housing options. So this is an opportunity to to ensure affordable reasonable price housing for 75 years in an area that's quickly growing. And that's probably a little bit more background and time that Patrick wanted me to take up, but I think it's really important to understand kind of why we're here today discussing this project. The last page you can flip through, these are just images of representative quality that we've built throughout our portfolio. So just some pretty images to look at. But again, sorry, Mr. Plummer, Patrick, I didn't mean to take up that much time, but I just wanted to provide the board the background.
Thank you. Any questions for Mark?
You touched on something with the map on, your partnerships in the area, with the first one being the welfare.
Yes, ma'am.
And your invitation, by the way, I think you're up on the invitation, I would love to hear that. Taken together, if you were to put, well, this is gonna be a guesstimate, Mr. Plummer. If we were to look at the affordability capture return on tax breaks, tax exemptions between those two properties, what would the percentage be?
Significant. I mean, I welcome Patrick or Mr. Plummer's input, but the 4%, that program was utilizing 4% tax credit, and it's just a really, really powerful tool. And you know, it's a program that you're able to deliver just levels of affordability that honestly just aren't obtainable with conventional equity. But I would say all of the units there are 60%. So 100, every unit is 60%, and I would say, you know, market rents are $2,000, and the rents are probably $600-700 underneath market. So I don't have the exact number, but like I said, just could be more proud about the impacts that we were able to deliver together at Wild Horse Flat, because you know that's a fleeting opportunity.
I find that compelling. Is
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
If that's an offset for what Jim did at Jacob Blue Ridge, that I think that's.
Yes, ma'am. That's something that you know, we think is important. We obviously are very grateful for the partnership that we've had together and the work we've done. And you know, we're understand that this may not compare or align to every priority that you all have established recently, but we're hoping that the track record that we've built together today will give us some benefit of the doubt.
Questions? Thank you. Thank you. Oh, okay, resolution D, TCFC 2023-10. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Is there a motion to approve?
So move. Neither one of them second. So there's discussion about this. We need to discuss it.
Okay, let's discuss.
I find myself in an odd position because I wasn't here in June.
Right.
So I'll listen to what you all want to say about where we are now compared to where we were.
I can certainly appreciate that of the 3 deals brought to us today, it's at the least amount of affordability and most in tax exemption savings to the developer. But in light of the 3 other projects that they've done, I mean, I am a proponent of not scuttling more stock for the housing market. I'm not a huge proponent of big tax exemption giveaways, but I think in light of what this developer has done on the 3 other projects, the amount of work that's gone into this, I would vote to approve it. But I understand there's some points of views on that.
I support the project primarily because it's less than 5 miles from Tesla and up the road, all along that corridor on 130, it was blowing up with warehouses and things of that nature. And there's going to need to be housing. Maynard is trying for affordable housing, and
course, it doesn't pay out like we would normally get out of it, but it is something that's moving forward and it allows us to continue to grow and to get some revenue out of it.
Well, my concern is just that, you know, I think about what is our ultimate goal and our ultimate mission. And I just don't see this addressing the masses of people in terms of affordable housing. I think that it gives some discounts, but I don't think that it's really targeting those people that could really afford this type of, you know, the type of benefits that we've actually been, you know, struggling to meet. That's my biggest concern.
Yeah, if I may, I think one of the things that I wanna share is that it probably is not a good tool that does what you're suggesting. I think the reason why some of these bills work is because of the infusion of cash by the city of Austin via affordability unlocked. But if it were not for affordability unlocked, you see very few affordable projects in the city of Austin. You see your standard 60% AMI across the board. The PFC structure allows for their ability to see that there is a missing middle, and we're not talking about typology, we're talking about income levels, right? Because typically missing middle talks about different types of housing, like townhouses and the like, which people don't necessarily embrace if you're in a single family detached neighborhood. But missing middle in the context of talking about the range of uses from anywhere from 60 to 100 and let's say 120% AMI, you can't find that anywhere. So you're in a tax credit development, you're at 65% of AMI because you got to raise, you have to leave. You have to move on. There's no place for you to live because that's the tax credit program, which is 90% of all the affordable housing developments in this community are just that. And so again, barring maybe what we call income averaging, you don't see, and then that doesn't really happen where they have to average 60, but they can go up to 80. And that's very few, if any. So you're right, it doesn't meet every need, but trust me, every income level affects those lower tier levels. And so you have to think about it in a broader context of what this means, the 80% AMI, what that does for someone who could pay 80%, someone who could have to pay less, where that is. And otherwise, that person who would normally be able to pay 80% is going to be taking advantage of something that someone otherwise couldn't get because it's not available. So the odd thing about housing is you do need to see the entire spectrum of housing because every income tier affects the lower tiers, even if you're not developing at that level. So you as an organization decided that you would think about that by figuring out a way to leverage and use more dollars into the very extremely low income development or units. And that's something we need to still continue to work on, but it is a challenging situation. And there really isn't a tool that addresses it the way anybody wants it. And that's just the truth of the matter. So I think we do have an opportunity, right? Because there is a need. And I think this does some of that, not all of it, but it does address a need that's still out there. And so I would just implore you to consider that in light of everything else, because it does meet a need.
Plus the tax, the interest rates have increased up in cost and rising consistently. So it's a two, and so that's my reason for support that.
Well, I appreciate y'all's explanation. I think it helped me to see things a little bit differently than everyone else.
Could you just speak about what you find unfeasible about deeper affordability in this project?
Yes, ma'am. So two considerations. So with the other three projects that we have in the vicinity, it's 850 units of that are 60% less and below AMI. So we're in the unique position to most TFC developers, is we already have, a significant portfolio of those lower income units in the same area with, at different stages. And so we feel like, in some aspects, we don't want to keep, don't want to compete for those same tenants. And anecdotally, when we're leasing up at Wild Horse Flats right now at the 60% level, as Patrick mentioned, we get a lot of folks that come in that are overqualified. We probably get 1 or 2 families from Tesla that come up, and if you make $1 over 60%, you're ineligible. And that's why we thought the unique opportunity to have these 2 projects within proximity that would complement each other very well. And if someone no longer qualified for a 60% unit, there was still an obtainable option in the area, or vice versa. If you're in the higher and you fall on some tough luck and need an affordable option, there's something down the street. So and then on the financial side, the more the lower incomes your units are, obviously that's less revenue, and which impacts an investor's return. And in this market, just from what we originally discussed in June of 2022, the markets, the real estate market's significantly more challenging. Our construction rates are 7.5%. So all of our costs have increased significantly. While in the affordable sector, rents just don't increase. You can see the 20-30% spikes in the newspaper in this market and other markets around the country, and they just lag significantly in the affordable housing space. So that was the thought process of how we structured the AMIs in this project. We modified, which we were hoping is a win-win from our kind of original agreement in 2022. And those were kind of some of the factors that kind of led us to the unit mix that we present today.
The unit mix you presented in 22 was.
It was just half at 80 and half market, like the previous development presented here.
So, Mr. Reporter, obviously have the ratio in which we are a little bit split here on the dice. Is there anything else that your group would consider in terms of affordability, or are you at your absolute limit?
We're definitely getting close. If not already there. One lever that we've tried to address to improve the financial profile is pulling up and increasing fees. We're at $600,000, which is above the I guess the traditional policy. So we tried to offset that. So I think that could be another lever that could be advantageous to consider, because or we could do more units at 70% if that's the wish of the board. But like I said, just for the reasons discussed on the 60% units in our existing portfolio of the housing authority, we're trying to separate this from the others, because we think that it's a complementary asset in the house, in the housing authority portfolio.
Any movement towards even 70% would be much appreciated.
Okay. Well, yes, whatever you all see appropriate at the 70% level, and Patrick and Jim, whatever what they would support, we could figure that out quickly. But we definitely appreciate just kind of urgency, because this is been a long time in the works, and we're fortunately and unfortunately we're getting closer to groundbreaking, and we're just eager to find something that everyone's excited about moving forward with it together.
I'll put a question. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Okay, on to the regular agenda. Project status update.
Yeah, that was we are working actually not on a specific project, but projects that are subject to approval by the city of Austin Housing Authority and the city of Austin. Which, this is one of them, is still pending, so there is still another level of approval that has to take place. We are working feverishly with the city of Austin Housing Authority specifically to come up with language that would be amenable for them to move this forward. So just stay tuned that we will make you aware of that.
Item B, finance, Supra.
Good morning. So, quickly, this is, we have about 2.3 million in the TCFC fund, in cash fund, and 3.6 million in the set aside fund. So we collected, Ambring have started paying for the ground lease on a monthly basis, and last month, McKinney Falls paid us close to $1 million in developer fee. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, item 6, board committee reports. Do they have a report? Okay. Item 7, new and unfinished business.
New business, I guess, that I'm finished. I don't know where it's on. But with all of the money that's coming in, is there an opportunity that we would feel that we want to drop 100,000 or so into the foundation for improvement and work and et cetera? Is that something that we should do when we consider? The thought out like that. Is that appropriate, Mr.?
You have to, you have to ratify it in the vote, so
Yeah,
I mean, we
I
can
understand, but
bring the item back, but
Maybe we could bring the item back when we propose use of the fund.
sure, and maybe one of the committees we could meet and potentially talk about
How do you say?
the effective use of that, so we could certainly do that.
Sure. Okay, any other new or unfinished business? Okay, item 8, any need to go into executive session? No. Item 9, adjournment.
Move with adjourn.
All in favor? Thank you.